Hi everyone, how are
Hello.
you? Nice to have you all here. I'm sure we'll get some people joining us very shortly, but until you do, it's good to have you all here. And tonight we've got an excellent presentation for you that I know you're going to love about how to have passion, intimacy in your relationship. We're both very, very passionate about this area of our lives and very passionate about helping others to be able to achieve what they really want in relationships.
We just see all the time, couples that unfortunately end up parting, and it's just lack of skills. They really don't need to, and we just see it all the time. We're just passionate about changing the divorce rate.
So guys, tonight how this is going to work is we're going to put up a presentation very shortly, and you can see on the side there's a chat box. So if you've got any questions at all, first of all, say hello, put a couple of comments up there. But if you've got any questions, just pop the questions in there. And as we go through the presentation tonight, we'll do our very best to answer all the questions that you put up.
It's also nice to hear from you, so I know I'm not talking to a screen.
Hi, Leslie. How are you? Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Leslie. Thanks for commenting.
That's lovely. So for those of you that don't know us, we've been together now for 26 years, and we've worked very hard in this area of our own lives to have the relationship that we've actually got.
Hi, Murray.
Hi, Murray. How are you? Good to have you here. Excellent. So we're going to switch over to sharing our screen right now with you guys, and you'll be able to see the presentation right now. There we go. So what is tonight about? Well, this web class is for those who are going okay in their relationship but want to take it to another level of trust, depth, and commitment. Because the truth is, it either grows or it dies. Every relationship moves through different phases. And you know yourself, particularly you girls, you know exactly where the relationship is. I often hear men come and they say, wow, it was such a surprise. Like, I just didn't even see it coming. In fact, we were watching Guy Pearce being interviewed the other night.
Just last week, I think it was, with Andrew Denton.
Andrew Denton, yeah. And Andrew asked him, he said, like, your breakup in your marriage, did you know it was coming? And he said, no, I had no idea. And it's quite often, it's one of the differences between us.
Women are much more intuitive and just know these things, when the guys are just gobsmacked. But
Absolutely.
It's also for those people that are single who want to attract the right partner. That was me way back all those years ago. So it's important to be able for you to be the right person, so you attract the right partner.
Absolutely. And it's also for those who are going through a tough time in the relationship right now. Every relationship does, and it's not the tough times that you go through, it's whether you've got the skills to be able to work through those tough times. Can you, unlike most couples now, put the topic of whatever it is that you normally argue over, sex, kids,
in-laws, money.
Yes, all those normal things. Can you put that topic down below the strength of your relationship? And there's reasons why we can't do that anymore. And tonight in this web class, we're going to show you what those reasons are. So what to expect? Well, our goal for you is to see how you are just one conversation away. And I know, for most of you that sounds like a big claim, but literally you are actually just one conversation away from the relationship you actually want.
I don't think, you don't need to go through the old-fashioned 1 hour counselling once a week for 2 years. It is torture, and it doesn't work, hence the divorce rate so high. So there's new ways of getting into that place, and that's what we want to show you tonight.
Absolutely. So it's a new code to show you how to restore the relationship and how to restore that conversation. And we call that the Relationship Warrior Code. Because what we've been able to do is literally codify, put into a very easy map of how to achieve this and how to have it in your relationship. So we know everybody's busy. Now this webinar tonight, this web class is going to go for about an hour, 15 minutes to an hour and a half. So I know that's a big chunk of your evening, but we want to make it worthwhile for you. So if you stay till the end, we've got an additional 2 relationship videos which go for about another 3 hours, and they're part of a very small part of the tools that we have within the online armory that we've built. And it's not just videos. They're actual solid tools in every different area of the kingdom that we've been able to codify to put it into a map that actually makes sense.
Well worth the time to watch.
Absolutely. And for the guys that are watching tonight, look, we know you've got your own map. And if you're a guy watching, you know you don't like to borrow other people's maps. We don't like to ask directions. But one of the things that you're going to get to see tonight is that the map we've got actually doesn't work. It's not the right map. So what is the current state of the nation? Where are we at? Well, the truth is no one's given us the information when it comes to how to actually have a relationship that not only lasts a long time,
lasts forever. Also, none of this is taught at school. So, it's not people's fault. It's not taught at school. It hasn't been passed down. It's got lost. Hence, we're in the situation we are now.
And you have to ask the question, where did you get your relationship map from? Most of us got it from the culture that we grew up in, and I use that word deliberately. Some of us got it from the role models around us, a mix of that. And others have got affected by events that we went through. It's not uncommon if you've gone through a couple of relationships, there's been a lot of pain, you're a bit reluctant to get back onto that horse again, aren't you? So we have to be able to recognize that no one's given us the skills, we never got taught this, and it's not something that comes naturally. It's something that we have to learn. You're going to get to see why. And
it's not too late to learn it, no matter where you are in your relationship or if you're single.
Absolutely not. So the map came from a massive demographic shift about 80 years ago when we went through World War I and World War II. I don't think these days we can really properly imagine what it would have been like for the men to have to go off to war and to risk your own life for the sake of everyone at home. And when you were there, to see your brothers, to see your best mates killed right in front of you, and then to have to deal with that and come home out of that environment back to so-called normality. They came back different, and they came back changed. They came back seeking one thing as men, and that was peace. Then at home, the women had to step up.
And not only did they step up, they were working, they were building war machines, guns, gunpowder, etc. But not only that, they were also taking care of the kids. They were also cooking, cleaning. They were also taking care of the household, taking care of their parents, and most likely their partner who was at war, their husband's parents. So that's the start of them starting to be everything to everybody.
Absolutely. They had to carry the entire burden of the family. And then when he came home, he came back different. And they recognized that. Being women, they immediately knew that their king was different. And because they're totally capable, because they can do anything that a man can do, they stepped up. And they carried everything, including the emotional burden of the family. And now so often, we're talking with women and they're going, I'm just tired. Like, I'm just so
sick
tired.
Of doing everything.
Absolutely. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of having to carry the emotional burden. Because what we did after that generation, the next generation modeled that. They saw the emotional behavior. They saw the behaviors. They saw the emotions that the parents were carrying, and they modeled exactly the same things. They took it on. And now we've got this culture of men being
boys
and feeling like peasants in their kingdom and being in their feminine state. And we'll explain exactly what that means a little later. And
quite often, a woman would say, look, I've got 2 kids, but having my husband is like having 3 kids. It's just a common statement I hear women say all the time.
Yeah. And the girls are tired. You know, the women are just tired of having stepped into this position where they're carrying everything. They're emotionally exhausted and they want something different. And then we hit the period of the 60s, you know, when we became equal, and rightly so. You know, there's nothing a man can do that a woman can't do. However, the culture went much further than that. It didn't just say that we were equal. It started to say we're the same. And the truth is, we're not the same. We're completely different when it comes to everything. You know, she needs to talk lots to feel connected.
28,000 words a day when a man speaks 7,000 words a day.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've even, like, I think it was only a few weeks ago, Brett went out and played golf with a few of his friends. And he came back and said, you know, I said to him, oh, how was it? You know, and it was good. And how was Greg? You know, good. How was Daryl? Good. And it wasn't until, I think about 2 days later, I was speaking to one of their wives, and they had a burst pipe. The pipe was flooded. There was water right over the lounge. Everything was soaked in the house. So, you know, Vicky told me the story where the boys wouldn't talk about that, where the girls will talk lots about that to share the experience.
Absolutely. And I was like, oh, yeah. I do remember Greg mentioning something like that, but it got lost in the golf and everything else. Because one of the differences is, you know, she's got emotions on top of every memory that she has. Whereas for a guy, it's more factual. It's just that happened. So women are really, really good at remembering things. You know, 28,000 words per day, 7,000 on a really good day. And she's got 5 language centers processing everything that's said.
So give me a thumbs up if you get what we mean, 28,000 to 7,000.
Yep, absolutely. So pop some comments up there, guys.
Yes, raise hand.
Ravina. Hi, Ravina. How are you?
Ravina.
Guys, put up some hellos so we know who's here. We can say hello to you. So those shifts started to make us not aware of the differences. You know, I was saying the other day that, you know, I was on the train, and when I was younger, there was a culture that if someone got on public transport, a man would give up his seat to a woman. Not that she couldn't stand up by herself or that he was any stronger in standing up, but more from a sign of respect for her, of caring, of acknowledging that the feminine is different. And we have lost that in our culture. It doesn't exist anymore. And so now it's like we're all the same. And when we communicate, what we're expecting is that the communication is going to be the same.
It isn't the same.
We're looking for entirely different things.
In many areas, it's not the same. Both capable, but just not the same.
Absolutely. So when we get to the communication code, which is such an important area of creating this kingdom, when she's talking to me, she's expecting that I'm going to react like another girl and listen and you know, try and placate her and say, oh, that's terrible, tell me more. Whereas as a guy, I'm expecting she's just going to give me the facts. And that doesn't happen. So we get lost into this.
And when he just wants the facts and cuts you short, you know, the female will take that as he's not interested or he doesn't care.
Absolutely.
And that's how it's interpreted.
So the king and the queen must rise to be able to have a kingdom. And what we mean by that is that we've lost this concept of a kingdom. We've lost this concept of having a king. It's not that I can tell her what to do. God forbid that I would even try. But it's a concept of that emotionally, I need to stand up. I need to lead. I need to be clear about all the areas of the kingdom and where we're going with those areas and consult with the queen as to where we're going. But she expects me to make a decision. You know, it comes down to even simple things like, where are we going for dinner tonight? Oh, I don't know.
And if Brett's taking me out for dinner, I like him to know where he's taking me, not sort of say, oh, I don't know, where do you want to go?
What's your favorite food? You know, what do you want? That sounds polite, but that's actually not what women are seeking. They're seeking, look, I've looked up, there's this fantastic new Italian restaurant in town.
I know you love Italian.
we're going to go there tonight.
Yeah, good. He's got it handled.
Exactly. So then she doesn't have to worry. She doesn't have to stress about it. So how did we get to the position, and how did we get to wanting to be so passionate about this? Well, years ago, I was a very, very successful businessman, and I built a $400 million company within 3 years of my 20s. So I spent most of my time, energy, and effort effectively building an empire. The problem with empires is empires rise and fall, but kingdoms stand. And I didn't realize it at the time, but by having my life out of the wrong priorities in terms of how I set it up, I created the complete grounds, the complete lack of a kingdom that was going to provide a divorce. And that's exactly what happened to me. And many men and women listening to this are relating to that, because you know you're doing it right now. The focus has gone to that stuff. If you're a guy listening, you know, and guys, if you are listening to this and you're relating, stick some comments up and concur on that. For Marie, it was slightly different.
Yeah, look, I had everything I wanted. You know, I had a great business. The Current Affair came and done a story on it. Business was good. I had great friends. I was a party girl, loved going out. Life was good. And then it was a Saturday. One Saturday, I sent the staff home. I was just balancing the till at the end of the day. I had girlfriends popping around later, and I was going out. But as I was just doing the till, it was just like a big sigh. It was like, everything's going so well, but why am I feeling so miserable? And that was the start of me questioning myself. And what it was I really wanted to be in a relationship that worked for me. I had had previous relationships before, but I did feel that I was always the boss. You know, I felt that they weren't strong enough for me. And I wanted someone who had drive and passion and spirit and was capable. And I wanted someone, I wanted someone who had drive like myself. And that's what I was missing. So I was almost like I was lonely in a crowd. I don't know if you've ever felt that, lonely in a crowd, but that's where I was. So thumbs up if you know what I mean.
Done the empire building, Murray. Didn't work for time.
Time for the Queen, yes.
Yes.
I was the same. I had to...
Marcus, good on you, buddy.
Yep. Carmel, nice to meet you. But I had to become the Queen so I could attract a king.
Yes.
When you're the princess, you attract a boy, and that wasn't working for me.
So let us give you a couple of definitions here. So a prince is a guy who's got to a point in his life where his growth as a man has stalled out. And what he's looking for at that point then is just a good time. Even if he's in a marriage and he's still the prince, now he's just looking to use people and objects and things to satisfy his own needs.
Often we call it bling,
yes.
Or he finds an excuse to step down.
Whereas the princess is also a woman who has stalled out in her growth. And she's at the point where she's looking for some prince, coming in on a white charger, sweeping her off her feet and rescuing her and taking all her worries away and making her happy. The problem is that she can't be made happy. No matter what he does, she will not let down her shields to trust him enough to actually let him satisfy her. And many people these days are walking around as princes and princesses and never finding the relationship they're actually looking for.
And you'll never build a kingdom.
No.
Never build a kingdom from those two places.
Yeah, Cassandra, I had one of those princes, was not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Me too, Cassandra.
Yeah. So guys, look, we know that everything we're saying tonight makes so much sense. And the reason that it makes so much sense is that these laws that we're talking about, these laws of life, these laws of relationships, these laws of how men and women are natural. They're built into us. And as we recognize that, we start to work out there's actually a code. It's like there's a solution to exactly how we need to be to create the passion, intimacy, sex, lovemaking that we actually want.
And you can, when you learn the code, you can have a relationship where it's just awesome, where no matter what happens, it's you two and the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what's happening at work, with the kids, with the neighbors, with your health. When you've got each other, and the relationship is from the king and the queen, it's bliss. It's two people on the same page.
Absolutely. So this couple here, Jen and Paul. Now, Jen and Paul met when they were 16 years of age, so they're childhood sweethearts. And I'd love to play the video, but unfortunately on webinars, it tends to lag a bit. So a lot of the times people can't hear it. So unfortunately we can't play it. But it is on the landing page you would have come through to actually register for the webinar. And they're a gorgeous couple. Paul, in fact, used to work for Marie.
He was my first apprentice.
Many years ago.
30 years ago. But you can, after the webinar, look at it yourself. They're worth watching.
And, they've been together for 18 years. They've been married for 18 years. And their testimony to what we're saying about following through, learning the code, being able to apply it. And if you listen to the video, one of the things they say in it is, if it hadn't been for the lessons that we passed on to them, they wouldn't be together now. And, being together at 16 and lasting this long is a challenging piece in itself. To be able to go from childhood sweethearts, well up into your 30s, 2 kids, handle all of that and still be passionately in love, as they testify to being in this video, off at the Crown, having a great anniversary. That's what it's actually about. And it hasn't always been great for them. They've had businesses go south, and they've been through their own challenges. Absolutely.
But it's great to see them come through those challenges, and we can do that.
Absolutely. So what is the relationship warrior code? It's a bit like a bridge. It's a bridge to get over the differences and reach our partner's heart. Man, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, even wherever you are right now in your relationship, if you used to have that bridge and you don't have it anymore, even if you're feeling like you're not even sure if you love them anymore, this becomes the bridge. We've had couples like we just did in the last weekend, in the last event that we just did here in Perth, and they were living separately. And now they're moving back in together because they've found that love again that is literally one conversation away.
And I think it's hard, especially for women. One of the common things women would say is, I don't love him anymore. And I really get that. What they're saying is, I don't feel that love anymore. And it's impossible to feel that love, especially when there's lots of things between you, lots of resentment and, lots of blocks between you. You are not going to feel that love. So for a woman, it'll feel like they don't love you anymore. And once you deal with all that in between you, it's amazing what flows again. It's just beautiful.
See, one of the things that we know is inbuilt to men. So inside those events, I'll say to, the 25 men that are in the room, guys, do you want your partner to be happy? Do you want your wife, your partner to be happy? And they'll all go, yeah. And then I say, can I get a ooh-ah on that? And they all go, ooh-ah. And it's built into us to want to do that. In the honeymoon period, we've got so much dopamine going through us in the first 2 years. And then in both partners, it slowly starts to change into oxytocin.
Yeah.
And if we don't keep renewing that, if we don't do what we call filling the keep, and filling the keep means that in ancient castles, they used to have the tallest structure, which was the most precious area of the castle. And in a kingdom, it needs to be filled up with the small things that we do to build the trust, to build the commitment, to build the certainty, to build the security, to build those things that are necessary inside a kingdom to actually make it work. And when we remember how to do that, ladies, you'll see that that kicks back in him. He wants you to be happy. And I know, ladies, you also get to the point where, like, you need to talk and you're talking, but you're not getting through. When you actually learn the code, you'll see that men actually can be present. They can listen. They can step up into the masculine place, and they can understand exactly what you're saying.
True, so true.
So what we're going to go through tonight is 3 main secrets. You only need 2 things, just 2 things, to be happy, even if your partner won't change. How to have passionate sex and intimacy, and one flows from the other, even if you've lost the flame. And how to restore the relationship in just 3 days, even if you've lost the trust. And that's a big one, isn't it? So if you'd like to know what those are, pop up some comments, please, guys. And we'll let you in on those secrets.
Give us a yes.
Come on, let's see some little conversations. Come on, a bit of typing going on here. Let's see some stuff. Come on, guys. Don't be bashful. Don't just sit there watching the screen and not putting comments up. Who wants to know these secrets? Yes, please.
Otherwise, I feel I'm talking to a screen.
Yes, and for girl, that's not good. Like a guy can cope with that.
Leslie, thank you. Cassandra, yes. Marie, of course.
Excellent.
Carmel, thank you, Carmel. Rabina, yes.
All right,
that's what
fantastic.
You're here for.
Fantastic. So secret number 1. Like we said, we've gone through this period of we're equal, but we're definitely not the same. We are very, very different. And, I love research. I love science. Quite often that research and science can lead us off in wrong directions if we don't really, look into it properly.
Who's done the research.
Yeah, correct. But a guy called Professor John Gottman did a study of 3,500 couples about 18 years ago. And he was able to predict with a 91% degree of accuracy whether those couples were still together after 5 years. 91% degree of accuracy. In other words, he pretty well nailed it, didn't he? And one of the markers that came out of that was this place that we've got ourselves stuck into. This place where she's coming and trying to talk because she's wired into the emotional status of the relationship.
A female can pick up the pheromones and a man doesn't do that. So, intuitively women know when the relationship's not good, or way before a man would ever do it. And that's one of the gifts that we need to use and pick up, and not only in the relationship but even in business meetings and running businesses, etc.
Marcus, I like the mate. That's very good. Well done.
And Carmel, I'm not too sure why you can't see the other comments, but maybe it's something we'll look at later. Yeah,
it's probably something at your end that you can't fix. Yeah. So what are the masculine and feminine? Well, it's a place that we go to inside us as men, a place that you actually need to see someone demonstrate it, because pretty much is lacking in our culture completely now. So, a bikie is not in his masculine. A bikie is in his feminine. And why I say that is violence is not associated with the masculine. The masculine is certain. The masculine is present. The masculine is there when she needs it for her to be able to rest upon. And the masculine can listen and cut through what she's trying to say. The feminine... Our job is the feminine,
our job is to open, and quite often we don't open and we don't go vulnerable, and there's so much negative attachments to being vulnerable. And being vulnerable is one of the most powerful things that we can do, because what vulnerability is, it's being authentic and expressing where we're at right at that very time. And often I remember the first time I chose to be vulnerable with Brett very early on in our relationship. And I'm a very capable woman. And I made a choice that I wanted this relationship to be different. And I remember putting my head on his shoulder. And honestly, it would have been easier to have my leg cut off, because it just was so difficult to do that. And at that moment, I let go. And it was a very powerful and beautiful place to be. There's a lot of intuition in that place. And it's got nothing to do with the other partner. Often people say, I'm not going vulnerable because he may hurt me. Or when you're in that place, no one can hurt you, because there's a knowing that comes with that. And if someone does something that's not okay, there's a knowing that you know what to do and the boundaries are in place?
So an example would be that she might come and start to kick his butt, to go, look, you're never home. Why aren't you ever here? I'm always complaining about it. You never listen to me. You're never home when you should be. And she's coming from the masculine and doing that. She's stepped into that place. She's gone to the armory to get weapons instead of tools to be able to actually communicate with him through the code. And he then is just going to go to the armory as well, put on his chest plate, put on his visor, and he's just going to block everything she says. Or he'll just completely shut down and walk away. Because when he feels under attack, which is what most men say they feel when she comes to him, the guy hears, we need to talk, and literally his knees are shaking together.
It does. It freaks them out, ladies, when we say, we need to talk. It freaks them out. Hi, Tolga. Nice to see you.
It does. And, what he's got to get is he can't shut down. He can't block off, because what he needs to be able to do is rise up into the masculine, increase his energy level into a state that we really have to show you as a presence. And it's something like this. And you can see the reaction in Marie, right? When I get into that place of certainty, it's a state. There are 3,500 emotions in the English language that enable us to be in different states. In the masculine and feminine, in relationships, there are two main states that we need, and we call those the masculine and feminine. So what she would do instead of attacking him is go to the armory and get some of the tools that we've built in, such as getting into her heart, saying to him, look, I get that you're really busy at the moment.
But, what I'm really missing is, I wanted to spend time with you, and I want to spend some time with you.
And I'm missing you.
Yeah,
I understand that you're working hard for the family, and I understand that you're doing everything you need to do, but right now, I'm really missing you. And so for a guy...
Yeah, so with the masculine and feminine, it's like a dance. I mean, you get this right, it's like a beautiful dance.
And, when you get that dynamic going, it completely changes the relationship, because when she's in that place, what he's going to do is he's going to feel that desire to make her happy kick in. And the moment that he does, he'll step into that place of certainty and listen. Like, Marie's done that to me many, many times. We traveled halfway around the world on a yacht.
Goodness me. So we had, Brett sold his businesses, I sold mine. We bought a yacht, and all of a sudden we found ourselves in a 43-foot space, 24 hours a day. So, so I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but it was really difficult. That first year, that really tested our relationship and tested us. And that's where we worked through a lot of this. And by the end of that 3 years of traveling, we wrote this program. So it's definitely, we both had a lot of growth and challenges in that first year.
Absolutely.
Two captains on one boat.
So, Cassandra, yes, you're guilty, but being more compassionate, yes, it's partly being compassionate, but it's actually a state that we go to.
It's different from compassionate, Cassandra, because it's, when you're in that vulnerable state, your body releases oxytocin, and you actually feel it in your body. Yes.
So when she moves to that place, her oxytocin levels will increase.
And those levels then influence your partner.
And she'll feel much more relaxed. She'll feel like the stress has gone off her. And that can only happen, though, Cassandra, when we've got some of the baggage out of the way and we can actually start to trust again, particularly when we've been hurt in the past. And that may seem like a big ask for a lot of people, but when you see it inside the event that we run, the Relationship Warrior Code event that we just held last week, it's an amazing thing, because when you see it, you know what we're actually talking about. You can witness it. And the more that you see it, the more that you can actually put it into practice. For him, he'll feel the testosterone. He'll feel the certainty that comes from being in that place. And that enables her to go, okay, there's a difference here. I think I can trust him now. And it gives him an opportunity to prove himself. Whereas before, he's been in the feminine, whinging and moaning and complaining and bitching about her. So that dynamic is something that happens when we start arguing over a topic. And in every relationship...
Yeah, sorry, Carmel, I'm just reading your comment. What if he then blocks a text as a response to that vulnerability? When you're truly in that vulnerability, it's a state of wisdom. And when he attacks, you know what the answer is. It doesn't hurt. You come from it's almost like you oversee everything. You come from a place of wisdom.
Yeah. And it's important to get on the same page so that to understand the code and understand the differences. Because once we start to do that, he'll realize he doesn't need to put up his armor. He doesn't need to go to the armory and get his weapons. He'll understand and interpret why you're actually coming from that place. So that becomes the important piece there, Carmel, that he has to have this education and understanding as well. So instead of, focusing on the topic, whatever the topic is, we understand that underneath the topic, there's an unsatisfied emotional need going between the man and the woman in this situation. So it's not the topic that we're arguing. It's not sex. It's not the lack of sex for him.
And the topic could be anything. And the topic could be health, kids, money, in-laws. So whatever topic you guys are choosing to fight over, that's the topic. Yeah.
But underneath that, so if they're arguing over sex, he's going to be feeling unloved. So for a guy, he has to make love to actually feel connected. That's when he feels connected to her. For her,
we need to have the connection, the conversation, the time first. Then we want to make love. Completely the opposite. Quite funny, really.
Absolutely. So, when you come to the Relationship Warrior Code, you'll see that we do this dynamic. And she starts talking, and then she starts offloading everything that's been bothering her over the last 10, 20, 30 years. And when he's in the right state, when he's in the masculine state, not where he's been conditioned by the culture to be, or conditioned by things that have happened to him to be, when he's in the right state, she can just offload all that and he can take it. He just stands there, listens, takes it, and eventually she runs out of words. The words stop. And then she feels this massive relief because she's got to a place of feeling inner peace. And he as a man has felt like, I've taken it all, instead of feeling like he's in a friggin' wind tunnel, copying all this stuff, and it's all pointed at him. It's all blaming him. And we've trained many men to stop being princes, be kings, take it all on, stand there, understand it, and then be able to respond to her from the right place, Cassandra and Leslie.
So, Leslie, I would say that that is an epidemic, and that is happening a lot. What if he's the one not wanting sex?
Yeah.
And I would say you're probably dealing with someone who is in his feminine.
Correct.
Big time.
So a lot of men are having testosterone treatment at the moment, and that is merely because they've lost the ability to move into that masculine state. They no longer work out. They're not working on their body. They're no longer weaponizing their body to be at the peak level of fitness. And I don't mean like marathons or things like that. I mean eating really healthily, doing moderate levels of lifting weights, aerobic exercise to keep their testosterone levels up. A lot of men are carrying weight that they shouldn't be carrying, and that immediately drops your testosterone levels. Plus, he would also be in the feminine state a lot of the time, Leslie, and you would automatically know this. Do you not agree?
Energetically, women just know when a man is in his masculine or if he's in his feminine.
Absolutely.
We pick up the pheromones easily.
Yeah. So, Leslie, if you agree, yeah, well, if he's using, substances, like I said, if he's a prince and he's using outside things to satisfy himself, his growth has stalled. And that will obviously affect it too. But at the end of the day, yourself, I'm guessing that you've been in your masculine state a lot of the time with him. And equally, he's been in his feminine state a lot of the time because, as Marie said, women just intuitively know.
I used to live there. I know it well.
Yeah. So this lovely couple here, Sean and Hayley, you know, they were very close to splitting up. And they came to the event.
They had moved out separately, and then they came on the weekend, and
in 3 days,
big change.
Turned it all around using the code and are now moving back in because they clearly recognize it. If you look at the picture, you can see he's standing upright. He's in his masculine state. He's looking directly at the camera. She's leaning. Her head is even leaning towards him. And, you know, there will be a video up on our website shortly with those guys giving a testimony both before and after the event as to how they felt and what happened. And
I think, you know, especially when you've got kids, you know, it's really worth turning every stone. And when you've turned every stone, it's worth turning every stone again. Because it's when you find the right teacher, magic happens. And magic happened for these guys on the weekend.
Yeah. Leslie, you're confused. I'm always in the masculine state because I'm the one always attacking him. Yes, beautiful. I know.
Good ownership and well done. And that's probably, Leslie, because you are coping with everything, I would say. You know, you are dealing with work, kids, the emotional status of the house. So, you know, when we do it all, that's the state we find ourselves in.
Absolutely. And that is very, very common these days. You know, most women relate to that. So, you know, Hayley was in exactly the same position.
Hayley was exactly the same.
You know, she was constantly berating Sean, and he was, because of his conditioning, stepping down instead of stepping up into the king that he actually is and being that rock that every woman needs in the relationship. So this is, guys, what it normally looks like, right? She's like pulling her hair out. She's had enough. She's been storing up all this stuff that she's never been able to say. And eventually the pressure cooker pops and boom, he cops it. Or she simply stores it up and enables him to stay a prince. One of the two ways.
You don't want a prince, ladies.
And if she enables him, where she goes to is, the bottom picture down there is she puts the armor on and simply moves into the masculine.
And does everything herself.
That's
the one would say, you know, I've got 2 kids, but it's like having 3.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. And she is then in the masculine, and she is shutting down now. She's got the armor on. She's got the chest plate on. She's got the visor on, and she's blocking herself off. And the poor guy, he feels like that poor knight there.
Shattered.
He feels like a pauper in his kingdom, literally. So for the guys, you know, watching, if you're relating to feeling like a pauper in your kingdom, put a ooh-ah up there. So what we want to be able to do is if we want to have passionate sex and intimacy in the relationship, we need to be having lots, Marcus, good on you, bro. Fist bump.
Another ooh-ah.
Yeah. We want to be having conversations, not arguments, because conversations become the lifeblood of being able to feel intimate, connected to one another. She must have those conversations. She has to get it all off her chest, all off her mind, so that she can
de-stresses.
Yes.
The cortisol, you know, once, you know, both brains release cortisol, but with a woman, in her talking and getting everything off her chest, and even in cleaning and organizing, the cortisol is reduced.
Absolutely.
So we feel calmer after we've done that.
Yes. And in the early years, when we were together, you know, we had my ex-wife to deal with, and it was a blended family. I had kids at the time, Marie didn't, and then we had 2 more. We have 6 between us. And we had to deal with that outside influence. Yeah,
and that was hard because, you know, at the time I was in my masculine, you were in your feminine. We had the kids, we had the ex-wife. My God, it was a disaster. And we had to really work hard on it. And then, you know, we had arranged, you know, a nice weekend with the kids when we got them. And then the ex would not give us the kids, or, you know, give them a day late, which really mucked up our plans that we had for them. And then I get really annoyed at him for not sticking up and telling her that's not okay. And so it was just a mess. So, we really had to work through the whole blended family. And there's definitely, a code to work with them, because it can work really well. And now, I love the kids.
So what we created was plenty of arguments, like the triangulation diagram we showed you before. The kids became the topic, and we were arguing over that. Not a lot of lovemaking going on during that time because of that stress. And it also created this dynamic of me putting myself in the middle between Marie and the kids and trying to defend the kids. Now, any of you with blended families know exactly what I'm talking about here with this. You can't put yourself in the middle, because literally you've got swords on either side. No one's happy. When you're a guy, you're in your feminine trying to do that. All you feel like is constantly under pressure, and that pressure keeps you into the feminine state. You can't find a way to rise up.
So, any blended families out there? Get what we mean?
Anyone relating to that? So, when we're in that, men will naturally block an emotional conversation. Women store it up, and this causes the arguments. And the argument will be over these standard things, even being right. You ever been out with a couple and they're conversing, and she says it was in Italy 2 years ago, and he says, no, it wasn't.
And then they argue over something like it's irrelevant, just get on with the story. I want to hear the story.
Yes.
I think we've all been to dinner with a couple like that.
Absolutely. So what we have to do is understand the emotions. And once we get the states right, that comes naturally. Even, believe it or not, ladies, a man can read your mind. Yes, Cassandra, thank you. Tolga, yes. So once we get to that place, when we're in the masculine, we can look at her and we can look past the words, look past the topic and go, okay, this actually isn't about me being late. This is actually because she's missing me. That's sweet. She really does love me. Let me give her a hug, which is probably all she wants right there. And being able to interpret that, see that, and feel that becomes the turning point in any relationship. And that's why it's so important to have the communication code. Because when he moves into his masculine state, she can then move to her feminine. And when
the dance begins.
And when the king is not present, when the king doesn't rise, the queen can't rise and the kingdom cannot stand, is what happens. So in the armory, we've got a lot of great tools. And I just want to show you one of those, like hundreds of tools that we've got in there, a format that makes this really, really simple to do. It may sound that we're downloading a lot of information at the moment, but when you actually understand, and guys, if you're listening here, Marcus, and some of the other guys that are on the line right now, on the webinar, we like maps, don't we? We like it really clear. Just give us some clear instructions. In fact, just tell me what to do. But she's not your mother. She doesn't want to tell you what to do. But if there's another brother can give you a map and show you clearly, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, step number 4, that's what you do. For us guys, it's like heaven. We love it. So let me give you a little clue here. Let me show you a very simple dynamic. We call it the shield. And it's about not balance in life, but it's about priorities. And it's a self first.
And when we say self first, unselfishly, that's not a free card to go and do what you want. So for a woman, men are really good at putting themselves first. They will go fishing or go for a bike ride or go and have the game of squash or do whatever they need to do for themselves. Women, unfortunately, are not so good at it. We will not do something for ourselves until the house is clean, the work is done, the kids are okay. There's such a list that by the time we get to the bottom of that list, then there's no time to do something for herself. So what we're saying is that needs to stop. You need to do something for yourself, whether it be a walk, a facial, whatever it is. So you put yourself first unselfishly.
And then the marriage comes second.
Yeah, but marriage comes second. So I then put my husband Next.
after that. If you get that wrong, if you put yourself first, if you put your partner first and you're not looking after yourself, you know that you're going to get exhausted. And many men do this as well as women. It tends to be more cultured into women to handle everything as we explained, but men do it as well.
Next is children. Now, a lot of women might say, oh my God, I'm putting my children before my husband, or I put my children before myself. That won't work. You know, when you put your children in front of your husband, he feels it, and you don't have the time for him. The best gift you can give your children is a king and the queen in the right place.
Totally.
And then when that works really well, that is the best gift, that peace that you get from the kingdom. It's the best thing to give the kids.
Absolutely. So as a man, if you're running around looking after the kids and, you know, doing all the things you think are right, and you're putting out the garbage and you're mowing the lawns and you're producing at work and looking after all that stuff, but you're not having the conversations in the marriage, the rest of it won't work because you haven't got that piece set and correct. So you could be looking after the kids, you can be looking after the business, you'd be looking after family and friends, looking after her parents, you know, doing all the stuff for them. But if you've got that piece missing in the priority list, the rest of the kingdom will fall. And
then it's business. Or work, or whatever it is that you do, and then it's family and friends.
Yeah.
If you mix any of these priorities up, I'll say it again: it's self first, unselfishly. Then it's your partner. Then it's your children, business, family, and friends. If you mess any of these up, it will cause problems in the relationship. Now, there are times where that would change, but it only changes for a short term. So if we come home with a newborn baby, then, you know, for a few months while the baby settles in, obviously the baby's going to be a priority. If you get a job promotion, obviously for a few months, the focus may be on that new job. But then it needs to be after a few months, okay, let's get our priorities back.
Yes.
So do you understand what we mean with the shield? Give us a yes.
Yep.
If you understand the shield.
Clear cut, yes.
Have we explained that?
Mum, dad's children, yes, excellent. So, gentlemen, you know, if you get the business, if you put that before yourself, you put that before your marriage, you put that before your children, you've got a problem. So these priorities, Marcus, yes, yeah. Marcus, I get it. We've all fallen into this trap. So this dynamic, you know, when we've got these simple tools, and we set up a system within the way that we construct the kingdom that as men, we have reminders of this stuff. You know, once a month, check in on the shield.
Yeah.
You've got an app that actually brings that up for you and checks in on the shield and makes sure that you've actually got those priorities correct. So for men, it's awesome because we love reminders. We love having something that will just pop up and go, boom, that's what it is. We'll get to that, Tolga. So secret number 2, here's a great example. If you guys didn't watch the video of Leah and Craig, you should have a watch.
Craig didn't want to come and he just thought it was sort of, you know, what's this seminar relationship warrior stuff? It's he didn't like the sound of it, so he didn't come. So Leah came without him. And sometimes that happens, you know, women are more intuitive and she knew she had to be there. So she came and loved it, went home, gave him a lot of information. He just didn't know what she was on about. What's this masculine? I am masculine, I think he said.
Yes, he did.
And so begrudgingly he came along.
In fact, what he said is, I've built a business, you know, I've got an accounting practice, I've built all this, you know, I've done all this, how can I not be in the masculine?
Right. And so he did come along and really enjoyed it, really got it, really shifted amazingly. So afterwards, go and look at their story. Two beautiful people.
Absolutely. And again, you can see in the dynamic just physically there, she's leaning on him in exactly the same way. And that piece, that way of holding somebody, holding a woman particularly, is really, really critical. And you'll get to see why when you come to the event. So how do we restore the relationship in just 3 days? How do you build a kingdom? How can you turn something around in 3 days? Well, the fact is that two working together is much better than one. And both partners want to be doing that. They want to be working together. They want it to actually work that way. But as we've explained, we've lost that skill now, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we're able to do in 3 days, and you can imagine, we've only been together for 50 minutes, but I know listening for 50 minutes, you're starting to put all the pieces together. It's starting to make sense. You're starting to see a map that actually works. And this is the map, this one here. So it begins with the centerpiece, which is the relationship code, the way that we communicate, the bridge for our love to flow from one to the other. See, it's a sad truth that love is actually not enough. We've both met many couples that say, you know, I know that I love her, I know that I love him, but they're still going to get a divorce. So it's not love. It's building a kingdom in the right way through the relationship code to begin with, so that we feel connected. We know that nothing that we can argue over, nothing that we can disagree about is going to break this bond. When we're in that place, now we can begin to construct the rest of the kingdom, such as the treasury.
Yes, Murray, we did see some awesome results over the weekend.
Yes, Murray was actually there at the Relationship Warrior Code event over the weekend, or in fact from Saturday through to Monday, which is when the event runs.
Saw couples, you know, arrive who hadn't been together for months, reunite, and it was just beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So in the treasury, we have, you know, the production of income. We have, once we've got enough income, how do we invest that? And how can we begin to invest even if we've only got a very small amount of spare income? Because it's absolutely possible. We teach those skills. And
two people looking at that and being aware of that and talking about that, really the treasury comes alive. Absolutely. Two is more powerful than one. That translates with the security of that into the boudoir, into the bedroom. Yeah. And that flows over into our connection. And then we start to get that piece right, in that men need to make love to feel connected. You don't make love for a long time, you're not going to be feeling connected. No matter how much conversation she gets, he's not going to be able to deliver the state, the masculine state that he needs to make that connection happen. Equally, she's definitely not going to be feeling like making love. If she's had no conversation, no intimacy, no reminders, no half-hour periods of sitting down for at least 30 minutes twice a week, gentlemen, to have those conversations. Date nights, having reminders come up for you and look at it and measure it at the end of the month. How many date nights did you have this month? How many half-hour conversations did you have? See, if you don't measure it, it's just a hope. It's just a wish. If you don't measure it, you feel, we had a date night last week when it was a month ago. Yeah. You know, when was the last time you did have a date night? And a date night is where you don't offload all the problems. A date night is where you focus on enjoying each other's company. Absolutely. If he does not want to attend any counselling because he feels he's always correct and I'm one doing always wrong? Leslie, it was the same as, you know, Leah, the picture we showed you. She was exactly the same. Yes. So you need to keep moving. You can't make anyone else your excuse not to move and grow. So you'll find that once you move 5 places, he may move 1. Yes. If you move another 4 places, he may move 2. So you can't make that your excuse not to move. You need to keep moving and he will move too. So one of the things that happens, this dynamic we've been talking about, Leslie, is that what he's hearing when you speak is all he's hearing is criticism. And you may think that you're not saying that, but I can promise you, you know, when you come to the event, what you'll actually see is we had one event where we had a couple up, they volunteered, they were having a conversation. Then I stopped them for a minute and I said, guys, what are you hearing right now? Is she really hammering his butt at the moment? And they went, yeah, absolutely. She's killing him. And all the women turned around and looked at them and they were like, what do you mean? All she's doing is expressing how she feels. She's not criticizing him. We literally hear different language. So he's hearing you criticize because probably, Leslie, you're speaking from the masculine even though you don't recognize it. And I know you want him to hear you. I get that, beautiful.
But what you've got to convey to him is you've got to change your language a little bit. You've got to say to him, I want you to come to a Relationship Warrior Code because I want to get closer to you, because I love you and I know this can really help us get closer together. When you change it to that, that will activate and trigger in him that mechanism of wanting to make you happy.
Because quite often they hear you've got a problem, you need to come and fix it.
Correct.
And that's just, they get very defensive.
Absolutely. And as a man, he's looking at his map going, this map works. This is my precious map. I've been working on this map for 30, 40, whatever it is, years. And you're asking him to give up his map. At the moment, he doesn't even know that his map's the wrong map. If you can get him to listen to the webinar, or perhaps a replay that'll be up for 3 days after this if he's not here right now.
Or maybe if he's up for a conversation.
You'll get an opportunity at the end of this to book in a call. He can come on the call. No man bashing going on here. I'm a man. I'm not about to bash him. And he can just listen to this and make up his own mind as a man. Does this make sense to him, Leslie? And then we move on to the temple. And the temple is the place where we look at our beliefs, our spirituality. Are we on the same page? What's our moral beliefs about what we should believe in? How are we raising the children?
And what morals do we want to focus on this year as a family and with the kids? So these are the questions we ask ourselves in the temple.
Yes, because if we're not on the same page on these things, then we're going to be constantly fighting and struggling against each other the whole time. And then ultimately, within the kingdom, we have the armory, as we explained. And the armory is a place we can either go to get the weapons we're going to use against each other.
And tear each other down.
Yes. Or it's a place that we go within the kingdom that we offer you, is to build and take the skills that are within that. And there are many, many formats that we have. Formats for the temple, formats for the boudoir, because the conversation in the bedroom is a different conversation to the one that we would normally have.
It's a different dance.
Absolutely. And the same in the temple. And it's a different conversation again in the treasury. It's a different dance when it comes to our own fitness and health within the dojo. Because we both need to be fit. We both need not to have that foggy brain when we're having these conversations. And it's a very different conversation when we come to talking about the heirs. What kingdom are we passing to our children? Good question, right? Because most of us never even contemplate that. So we have to, within the armory, learn the tools to fill that tallest structure within the castle, which is the keep. That's where the king and the queen and the children reside. That's the place of love, trust, commitment, power. Power from the king, power from the queen, power in vulnerability, power in being able to stand there as a man and listen, power in his presence within that place. And that gets filled up every day with small things. Just a text of gratitude.
I know that with Brett, before I get into bed, he puts toothpaste on my toothbrush, something really, really small. He's always done it since I moved in with him 20 odd years ago. He's always done it. So it's just the little things,
Yes.
And even another little thing is that I could be in the kitchen and I'm, doing something and he wants to get something in the cupboard. Rather than push me out of the way, he just oozes me out of the way. Big difference for a woman because, she wants to be cared for and respected. So it's just the little things.
Getting up in the morning, going downstairs and getting her a cup of tea. Hot enough, in exactly the way that she likes it.
I like my tea extra hot.
Yes, very hot.
It has to be extra hot.
Very hot.
Thumbs up, ladies, if you know what I mean. It's the little things.
Yes, like you're reading me. That's why I joined this class. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yeah, absolutely, Leslie, because these things are common things amongst us all. As women, the principles we're talking about apply. As men, the principles apply as well. And
you're not alone, Leslie. This can be worked out. Relationships can change, and they can be worked out. And when it's a journey, and when you do, and you do get it right, they're worth fighting for.
Because if we don't fill the keep up with these little things, when the hard times hit, and they will, because that's the nature of a relationship. It's not like we don't argue. We disagree about many things, but we put those disagreements behind the strength of our love, the strength of our commitment, and the strength of the kingdom. And that keep has to be kept full.
Because hard times do come.
Absolutely. So I like this beautiful couple here, Jana and Shane. You know, they came to us, and Jana, as she said, she was having a nervous breakdown. She'd actually cheated on her husband, and they're in the middle of separating. And someone gave her my number, and, you know, she put down the guilt. She understood why she'd gone outside of the relationship to actually try and find that love and care and concern, because Shane didn't want to, but he had his chest plate on. And now, you know, they've done the event, and as I say, they're highly recommend.
Going strong, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like a brave couple.
Absolutely.
You know, that's authentic and brave.
So at the moment, it may be like we've just downloaded like an hour's worth of stuff to you. And it may feel like that guy right now, right? There's just so much stuff coming. But I want to be able to present to you, both want to be able to present to you an opportunity to take this further. So if you're up for that and you're interested, let us see some, you know, hi, yes, tell us more.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, waves, whatever you want to do onto the screen, guys. Put a few of that up. Carmel, good.
Thank you, Carmel.
Yes,
so I know I'm not
Sandra,
talking to,
yes.
do you know how hard it is talking to a screen?
Yes, she really needs this feedback, guys. Like,
I need feedback to know you're there. Thank you.
Always interested. Thank you, Murray.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. So let's have a look. So what's the Relationship Warrior Code event actually about? So what are you going to get if you come? See, we don't believe that marriage guidance counseling works, or traditional way of doing things works. Why? Because it's locked into the same culture that locks us into this way of being. It deals with an issue, and that issue just goes round and round and round, and it just doesn't move. You know, we've had many couples that have been to psychologists, been to marriage guidance counseling, and they're on the verge
for years and years.
Yeah, and they're on the verge of giving up because they feel like there's no solution. What we found is a solution. So who wants to be able to speak and have him actually understand you, ladies? That'd be awesome, right? To actually have him stand there in full presence with you and actually get what you're saying.
Well, get you.
Yeah, precisely. Get you. Be present with you in the relationship. Like, be present to the kids. Be present to the state of the treasury. Be present to what's going on in the bedroom. To be present in all areas of the kingdom. And for you both to stand up and fully embrace having a kingdom, being the king and queen that you're born to be, not feeling like peasants, scraping for little scraps off the table. Speak to him and tell him what you really need emotionally. And gentlemen, for you to be able to stand there, understand her, and then in return, get that she's actually yours, that she opens to you, that she gives herself to you. It is an awesome feeling as a man. So you can step up and feel like a king in the kingdom and no longer like a pauper. And
it's so many men, it's so sad, feel like a pauper in their kingdom.
Absolutely.
It's so sad.
And, you know, for both of us, for men and women, to work together, to create the life you both want by working in the kingdom, two being more powerful than one.
And when you get that right, what a gift you give your kids.
Totally. Absolutely.
That says it all.
Because when you show them that new map and new model of the kingdom, now they have something to follow that's actually going to work.
And I think, you know, you can spend so much time, you know, on expensive schools for your kids, that what's more important is the rise of the king and the queen.
Absolutely. So over a 3-day event, you get 32 hours with us. And you can see we've spent an hour together. I know you've got a lot of value, right? If you've got a lot of value, you know, put it up on the screen there for us.
Actually, yeah, maybe put up what you've got so far.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Awesome info. Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, been there, done that. Marcus, yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Marcus. So day one, what we do is we remove the conditioning. We take away what the culture has imposed on you to rob you of being the kings and queens that we actually are. We take away the events that have happened to you. Like I remember, you know, being a 16-year-old and having this girl that I was madly in love with on the other side of the country over in Sydney and traveling to and from during the school holidays. She ended up sleeping with another guy in the third term of the year. And I found out when I flew all the way over there and she told me. That was like one of those, do I really want to get back on the horse? Well, for me, it was like on the rebound. I got married when I was 19 years of age. So that is conditioning. And if we can't remove that, then there's no way I can fully trust her, fully give myself, fully open as the king to her and let her rest onto me. That is not going to happen. Whenever a relationship is not working, the first place the king looks is here. The first place the queen looks is there. And then we realize what we need to do within the code to be able to bring that piece back together again. So day 2, we learn the code, we learn to accept the differences, and we then start the training to be in the feminine and masculine states. And when you see people, when you see others around you start to shift into those states, you witness them.
And also, you know, one of the things often said is women's faces just soften so much more when they move from the masculine into the feminine state. And with that comes more oxytocin in the body. With that comes more peace. So they feel they're dealing with everything from peace. And remember, peace is about having peace in the middle of turmoil.
Absolutely. So we've had couples, you know, who have had affairs. They've come to the relationship. They're able to put things like that behind them within that environment that we create, because they can see others doing it. They can watch and learn from that, and they see how they can do it themselves. And it's a very powerful process that we've really been able to hone down to something that really works over 18 years of running this event. And on day 3, it comes together. The king and the queen now rise. The
rise of the king and queen, best day.
And the kingdom now stands. And we'll be putting more testimonials up from the event that we just did. But like, there's plenty up there. If you really watch those testimonials, you can remove pretty much any doubt you might have as to what you're actually going to get. So you lose the conditioning. You're going to find peace, like I said, when she can move into the feminine state. She finds that crazy mind, ladies, that you have.
Quietenstein.
Yes. It's not like from waking up in the morning to the time you go to bed. It's just, what am I going to do? This. It feels like a burden's been lifted off you. For the guys, it's more like, instead of having to go into his nothing box, he gets to a place within himself where there's just calm, because he feels like he's now the king. He's in control of the areas within the kingdom. He can check in with that. He's measuring it. He knows he's on top of it. She knows that he's on top of it, and she can relax into that. No more irritations. You know, that small stuff that irritates you all the time. You start to understand those behaviors, and you get past them very quickly by understanding each other, hearing each other, connecting again, and ultimately, a big one, respecting each other. Having that mutual respect for king and queen. It's pretty hard as prince and princess to respect each other. And that then leads to being able to fully trust that no one's going anywhere, the kingdom's not under threat. No matter what happens, the kingdom, the walls are not going to crumble. And in that environment, that's when we know that love actually exists, because we experience it. We feel those things. We feel the levels of oxytocin.
We don't know, we feel it.
We feel the testosterone. She feels the oxytocin. There's plenty of dopamine to go around, and the relationship changes totally. So what does it look like? Well, it looks like coming on the 13th of October here in Perth to the 3-day event. That's normally $1,995. And yes, I know it's an investment. I understand that. But it is far cheaper than a kingdom that is falling and a marriage that is failing. Far, far cheaper. Access to the online armory with videos to educate and inspire you, access to a Facebook group with plenty of support and encouragement, and access to qualified relationship coaches to assist when the need arises. So, you know, the online armory, we do online courses, $1,000 worth of value. Access to the Facebook group where we do other courses in each of the different areas, $495 worth of value. And access to our coaches when you need them on a fair use basis. Like, you can't ring us up every day, but, you know, booking calls, booking in coaches when you need them to assist, if you do. There's a total value there of about $4,500. And if all it did was turn your arguments into conversations, it would have to be worth it. So guys, if you're seeing value here, I'd like to see some comments up there, please.
Like a yes.
Or an ooh-ah from some of the guys would be awesome. Get your king and queen to rise, to no longer have that feeling of being the pauper within the kingdom.
Yeah.
Be on the same map towards the future, following the kingdom map in great detail.
Yeah, so good being on the same page. You just have so much more support, and wherever you're going, you get there faster.
So in the communication code, we've codified that down to actual steps. She says this, he says this, she does this, he does this. As a stepping process you can follow in 9 steps, very easily followed. They all come as part of the armory. There are maps within each area of the kingdom, detailed, broken down, step by step, easily understood, easily implemented. And you'll be on the same map when you're talking. And it's an awesome experience. Both of us to feel understood. I hear many men say, she just doesn't get me, she doesn't understand me. They don't realize when they're saying that, they're in the feminine. Because as men, we don't need to be understood, but we do need to be supported.
And appreciated. You know, a man, ladies, a man just loves, like, thank you. You know, thanks for working, or, you know, thanks for working so hard. Thanks for that holiday. Or if we go out, you know, Brett takes me to the movies. Thanks for that movie. It was awesome. We actually, they really do appreciate a thank you. And I think we can forget that.
Absolutely. So Murray, thanks for the awesome. That's very easy for him to say because he's been there, so he totally gets it. So Murray, you know, just put up a few comments there on, you know, what you got and like how great it was to see, you know, all those couples change their relationship. So feel understood. Teach your kids how to have a kingdom. Like, that is priceless. That is absolutely priceless, to be able to pass that level of wisdom down to our children and show them how to become king and queen. And ultimately, if you're still looking, to find the person you dream about.
And that was me. You know, I had to find my king, so that was me. But I had to be the queen to find a king. So definitely, that's important.
Because if you're looking at the moment and you're not in a relationship and you're stuck in princess, as an example, then when you walk in a nightclub of 100 men and 99 of them are the king, they're going to treat you like a queen. Because of your conditioning, because of your pattern, you're going to pick the guy over in the corner with the black t-shirt, big muscles and the tats, and you're going to go for the bad boy rather than the king, based on what you know as the model of masculine, the one that you had before. You know how you've been in those relationships before? That's going to happen again, and we don't want that for you.
Yes, Cassandra, it's okay to be single, to go to the events, because you learn so much. And if you're single, you know, you need to look at getting yourself to the king so you can attract a king.
Absolutely. We had a number of single people, both men and women, at the last event, and we do it every time. Would all that be worth the money? So what's your relationship worth? Is it worth 5,000, 10, 20,000? Like, what's your happiness? Because, see, I've had it all. I've had that unique experience of having everything people thought they would want. The money, the fame, the bling, the cars, the houses, private jets, all that stuff. Without a kingdom, it's worthless. And Michael Jackson, Heath Ledger, Robin Williams, they will all testify, if they could and they were still alive, to the same thing. Because when they had it all, they found that without that centerpiece, without that place of happiness within inside themselves, it was worth nothing. And that's what you can get. So what's it worth? $5,000, $10,000, $20,000? So what you'll save by doing this is you'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars in divorce costs. Divorce is very expensive, particularly when you start splitting up the treasury. Years of turmoil after divorce. Divorce is just the beginning. When you go through a divorce, there's years of hassle, fighting, unpleasantness, trying to deal with the kids, all that stuff. It's not pleasant.
And after divorce, if you haven't done the work on yourself, guarantee you will pick similar patterns to your previous partner, and you'll be doing it all again in 10 years. The statistics will show that to you.
Murray says these couples are like new couples after 3 days, like different couples. Go, Cassandra. Awesome. This is what I don't want. Absolutely, Cassandra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Murray, agreed. Yeah. Very worthwhile, even if you're single.
Yeah.
So if you are single, fruitless searching for the one. It doesn't work because you're going to attract, whether the body looks different, the guy or the girl is different, the same pattern is going to be there. Years of marriage guidance counselling. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we know that from experience.
Well, you know that from our clients who have been going to counselling for 3 years.
Absolutely.
And they come to the event and have realizations after 3 days.
Yeah. And it saves years of struggling through. Why try to use your own map when there's clearly a map that actually works? Instead of trying to find that balance, because balance doesn't work. It's actually about priorities, getting your priorities right. And seeing your children, seeing your children on a shared basis each week. That's not much fun.
That's not much fun for them either.
And save your kids from seeing a shattered relationship, providing them a model of a way out that really isn't a way out. So you can save all that, guys, if you're prepared to commit to something completely different. So what is the actual price? Is it $4,000? Is it $5,000? Is it $10,000? The price is $1,995 to come per person. And it's on in Perth on the 13th to the 15th of October.
That's the last event for the year.
Yes.
We do have one in LA.
Yep.
In October.
At the weekend after, in fact.
Yes.
The one in Perth.
But that's the last one for the year.
But a little bit more expensive to fly all the way to Asia to do it. So much easier. So do we have the results? Absolutely. We've got literally hundreds of couples that have been through this process that testify to the results that you can have by getting away, breaking through the culture, breaking through your conditioning, and leaving behind a map that actually doesn't work. Jen and Troy, beautiful couple, went through, unfortunately, some severe financial turbulence, and it was certainly something that would have normally have torn the relationship apart. They've stood that test of time for their beautiful children. They've been able to move past all that, and as they both say here, thanks for the amazing result in the marriage. It's been strong, but now it's unbreakable. I'm eternally grateful, not just for my husband and myself, but for the kids as well. And as she rightly says, the benefit will be passed on through them.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. So here's how it looks, guys. You can come onto the Facebook group, check into the Armory, book a relationship mentoring session, and attend the Warrior Relationship Code event with us. Now, I know you're probably thinking stuff like right now, I can't afford it. The truth is you can't afford not to do it. No matter how hard it might be for you to put this on your credit card or go and get another credit card, you simply can't afford not to do this. This is the centerpiece of your life. And it's so important that you have to get over whatever stuff's going on in your head, because everybody has challenges coming to this.
And there's no standing still. So your relationship is either moving forward or it's slipping back.
Absolutely.
There's no such thing as standing still. Everything in this universe grows. Think about it. If it's not growing, it's slowly dying. And that's the same with people in relationships. And you don't want it to slide so far where both people don't want to make the effort. Absolutely.
You're probably also thinking, or you may be thinking, I'm not sure if I love them. This one's a difficult one because it feels true. But one of the things we teach within the Warrior Code is that we must be kings and queens. We must be able to do things. We don't give up when others do it. And we must be able to do things beyond emotion and beyond thought.
And I think only the king and the queen can answer that question, not the prince or the princess.
So what do I mean by that? I mean that quite often our emotions lie to us. We can feel like, yes, I should eat all that chocolate in the fridge. That emotion feels totally real. The truth is, you shouldn't. So when you come to the event, you'll get to see that once
clarity,
the shields are down, we're using the armor in the right way, the love, the feeling of the love reignites again. You may be thinking, oh, I'd love to come, but I just can't possibly sort the kids out. We have many couples with that problem, but Sean and Hayley that we showed you earlier, Sean stepped up, Hayley was having difficulty, and because he stepped into the right place as the masculine, he sorted it out in a day, just like that.
In an hour.
Yes, after a little conversation with my gorgeous queen.
Even with, you know, having a child with special needs, they managed to do it. So, you know, if you want something, you'll make it happen.
Absolutely. You may also be thinking you can do it by yourselves. Thanks, guys, for the map. I love the webinar. It's awesome. The map is one small portion of this. This is a lifelong journey. This is a pathway towards having an absolutely awesome future. Murray's been on that pathway for a while now, and he's certainly loving the journey. And we know that you guys will do too. There's no point in beating your way through a jungle when you've got a guide who can already cut a path clearly through it for you. That just has no wisdom, and in fact, it's frigging crazy. Can't do it in 3 days. I think we've got over that one. I think we've clearly shown you it's possible in 3 days to turn the ship around.
Yeah, read the testimonies. That way you'll know.
Absolutely. People often say, well, I love him. That's going to be enough. Unfortunately, I actually wish that it was, but love is not enough. We've had many couples, and I'm sure you've heard other couples around you, other people say, you know, it's a shame. I really loved him, or I really loved her, and I had to leave. That's sad. We need more skills than just love to make it work. You can also kid yourself. You know, it's not bad at the moment.
Especially men, I think, you know, use this a lot more because they don't have the skills to pick up where the relationship really is at. And often they would say it's okay where it is, and just okay is not good enough anymore. You know, a relationship that's just okay will not last in the era that we're living, because it's just too much outside stimulant.
Absolutely. And you end up with an argument all the time. And if you're using that as a block, you know that the fact that you are arguing all the time is the perfect reason to come and turn arguments into conversations. I can read a book or do an online course. Yes, you could, but you're not going to get any significant change out of that.
You're not going to get the experience that's needed to shift you into the masculine and feminine, or to shift what's been in between you.
Absolutely. We've all read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Awesome book. Not changing the culture. Why? Because it's cultured in. You have to break away from that. And that's why we created this event. We know it gets results. So for the first 20 people on the webinar that come, that package is available. How you access that package, this package here, the 3-day event, the online armory, the Facebook group, the qualified relationship coaches, you get it today for just $1,995. So if you're interested in that, put up some hoo-ahs and yeses and all that sort of stuff. And what you do is, we're going to put up this link very shortly onto the chat line, and we'll leave it up there for a little while. Or you can grab your phone right now, send a text to that telephone number, and we will send you the link so that you can book an appointment with either Marie or myself and have a talk about where your relationship actually is right now, and we can apply the code to your exact circumstances. So, you know, if you're on the feed and, you know, some of you ladies couldn't get your husbands to come, here's the perfect opportunity for them to hear about it direct with Marie and myself. So, like, it doesn't get any easier or better than that. So we want to thank you guys for being here tonight. It's been awesome to have you here.
It has. And guys, you can turn relationships around. They are worth spending the time and effort turning them around. And when you do, it's bliss. You know, relationships can work. They can be beautiful. They can be a place to rest.
Absolutely. And it's worth the time, energy, effort, and money to come and do this event, get the transformation in your relationship, restore the kingdom, allow the king and queen to rise. Again, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
Really appreciate you
thank
being
you,
here.
Cassandra.
And
pleasure having you.
Yep, guys, thanks so much. Awesome to have you all here. Take care, and we will see you very soon in the future. So we're going to leave this up for a little while so that you can copy it, and we'll pop it into the feed as well in just a moment. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks, Marie.